You must be at least 18 years of age to listen to the following podcast. I am Robert Black, and you are listening to Sexual Heroes. Twice in a heterosexual marriage, my guest, Clifton Tatum, came out at the age of 40 and went on to be the 2015 Mr. Palm Springs Leather, ultimately competing at International Mr. Leather in Chicago. He is currently president of the Palm Springs Leather Order of the Desert and a member of the newly formed Brothers of the Desert, an organization of Black gay men and their allies eliminating isolation and empowering and supporting the community. Hey, Cliff, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks for the invite, Robert.
You are president of the Palm Springs Leather Order of the Desert, the PSLOD.
Correct.
And you were Mr. Palm Springs Leather 2015 and competed at International Mr. Leather.
Yes, yes.
But what got my attention recently was something I didn't know about you. And that is that you came out at the age of 40.
Yes, I was a late bloomer, as my mother said when I came out to her.
Can you tell me a little bit about what
the delay was?
I'm interested in what, because you went like from at 40 to coming out to running for a leather title at 57. Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
That's quite a change.
Growing up in a small town, and the only gay images I saw were those of drag queens and the effeminate men and the effeminate male professions, like your hairdresser or, seamstress, or the characters you see on TV. Okay. So what feelings I had that I knew weren't right as a kid, that something's not right. I knew whatever it was, it couldn't be gay because I had no interest or attraction to those things that I saw. And so I just went about my life thinking, some men just have sexual feelings, but not to the degree that you'd act on them. And I figured like most men were attracted to superheroes or super athletes or very attractive men. So I just went living my life like that, having girlfriends. I got married a couple of times. Things were normal. And then I left home, separated from my wife due to my promotion. So she was in Southern California and I was in Northern California. And I started hanging out at the gym and started working out, getting myself in shape because I worked for the Department of Corrections and I was working in a new firefighters setting. So I needed to get in shape. Okay, it was time. And so as time went on, I started to let my guard down. I started to allow myself to have these feelings that I had, and I allowed myself to have these attractions. And at the same time, I'm still, my marriage is not great. It was a period where my wife really wanted to be single again. And at the same time, I was like hanging out in gay settings just to get a vibe. And it was during this time that I was beginning to realize that all gay men weren't what I thought or what I saw in media or on TV or in comedies or the stereotypes. And I was really realizing when I started hanging out in the gym and realizing that guy's gay. And I would have never known that. Or that guy is gay. And I wouldn't have known that. And so I said, well, maybe.
And how did you know that?
How did I know they were gay?
Yeah.
By being told.
Oh,
by being told. Yeah,
they weren't talking about Judy Garland or something.
No. I was just being told, that guy, he's gay. And I go, oh, really? And I, I wasn't discriminating or anything. I didn't know gay men came in that form. I mean, when I saw the Village People, when they came out, I really, really defended they were 5 straight men who were macho and macho careers. I mean, they were hyper masculine cop and guard and, cowboy. I just thought those were hyper masculine, and I never dawned on me till later when I came out, looking back, oh, they were gay icons. I didn't realize that. At the time when people would say they were gay, I said, they're not gay. They're just five guys doing 5 macho careers, It never dawned on me because, like I said, I didn't have anyone to tell me anything different growing up. So I started hanging out well, actually what happened was I met a guy. He was married and I was towards the end of my marriage. And this guy was a beautiful man whom I felt attracted to. We met at a gay beach, but it wasn't really, I wasn't there to hook up. Okay. I was just curious to see different types of gay men. And I found it very erotic to be in the environment. So he was actually the first gay guy who I made as a friend, and he was married and he worked in social services. So we had a lot in common. And as
he was married to a woman as well?
Yes, he was. Yes. Oh. And as we began to talk, he started sharing his life with me, and he said that he knew he was gay since he was a young boy. And I said, well, why did you get married? And he said, well, it's just the thing you're supposed to do. And I thought, gee, if I knew I was gay, I probably would have never gotten married. But as time went on, okay, I fell in love with this guy. And it was then that I realized I can't stay married. I said, I can't live this dual life, I can't do it. And so I said that to my wife, and I said, well, I guess let's go ahead and get divorced because this is where this thing is leading. And we did. And then once I got divorced, then I started exploring San Francisco. I'm sorry, I had moved to Santa Cruz for this job promotion. Okay. So then I started hanging out in San Francisco and discovered the leather bars and the daddy bars. There was daddies in the Castro, and then there was the Edge. So these were older gay men who I identified with and thought, I found my tribe. I had no idea these men who were very comfortable for me to be around. I felt very much at ease, and they happened to be gay as well. Well, I quickly identified with the leather community because the hyper masculinity and the leather and the imagery, it all started making sense. The village people were gay. The leather man wasn't he really wasn't a motorcycle driver, Cliff. You know what I mean? It all started clicking. And as time went on and I met more of these fellas from the bars, I realized, okay, I'm gay. And when I was younger and I thought the feelings that I had weren't enough to qualify me as gay, I was just a horny motherfucker who thought men were sexy and probably would get with one if the opportunity arose, but I had never been with one. And so this guy who I met, who I fell in love with, who was married, I kissed him for the first time. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, all the kissing I had done in my past was like, oh my God, this is a totally different feeling. And once I fell in love with him, my desire to be with him was so different than all the other relationships I'd been with. I mean, he was married, and I would go to his. I was assigned his best friend. Okay, so his wife knew me as his best friend. But dude, I was going over there on Fridays, staying till Monday morning, hanging out in the guest bedroom, and we'd hang out all day at his place. And he lived on a large property, so I'd help him with chores he had around the house, planting trees and building planters or whatever he was working on, plumbing projects, because I was living on state property, so I didn't have any house chores or work to do. And I was just hanging out with this guy, and I was finding myself in love with a strong desire to be with him and around him. And at the same time, I was trying to keep my distance because he was married, and I was trying to respect the situation, but I was making a complete fool of myself. Unbeknownst to myself, I was making a fool of myself, and I didn't even realize at the time because I had just fallen in love like a teenager. Well, as time went on, I knew that relationship couldn't last. And so I moved on to another job assignment because I needed to get control of myself. And I continued to date guys in the leather community. And I would go to leather contests, and I just liked what they stood for. I liked what they did. I liked the sexuality. I liked the seediness of it. I really got into the whole sexuality and the kink of the leather community. And when I moved to Palm Springs after retiring from my job, it was the first time I attempted to run for a title. So I wanted to be that iconic, Tom of Finland type of leather man. So I spent a year working out really hard, and
it showed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Being
It
6'4".
shows.
Yes. At the time, we're talking now. How many years? 5 years ago. So in 2015, I had put in the sweat and tears and looked pretty good in leather. And I won the title, and I felt great about myself. And I did everything I possibly could do for the community at the time, and went on to IML and did well, and just kind of found my tribe. It's one of those funny things that once you acknowledge something about yourself, then I went back in my life as as I sit back and think, truth be told, I knew I was gay at about 4 years old. But I didn't realize that was gay. I didn't identify that as gay. I just identified it as a feeling. You know what I mean? It's like saying, just because I happen to own a Porsche doesn't make me a race car driver. Just because I happen to find men attractive doesn't mean I'm gay. And so that's kind of how I went through life. I wasn't not attracted to women, and I enjoyed my sex life with women. I just actually had no experiences to compare it to. And so all that time that I thought I wasn't gay enough to be gay, I was. I was gay enough to be gay, but I hadn't allowed myself to feel the feelings and experience the relationships, where I think young men today, or young boys today, they're not hung up by what society is doing or watching them, or feeling like they're under a microscope, and they will allow themselves to have experiences and explore their feelings, and things get cleared up right away at a young age.
So you found the leather community.
Yeah.
There's kind of two communities that sort of overlap. There's the kink BDSM community.
Sure.
And then there's the leather community.
Right.
And just because you're in one doesn't mean you're necessarily in the other, but they do overlap. And, for some people in the BDSM community, the leather just is kind of the uniform that goes with it, and how you kind of find other players. Are you in both communities? Are you in just the leather?
You know what, Robert? Robert, that's probably the best explanation, summary of what we're talking about I've ever heard. I walked into a leather bar and saw this masculinity, smelled this male musk, saw the old worn, torn leather with Levi's, some were in full, spit shine black leather, and I was turned on. And then I discovered the Tom of Finland, and it was all coming together. I had no idea about the kink side of leather. I knew there were kinky men, and I saw them wearing the hankies, and I knew the hanky code, but I did not discover kink and then leather. It was leather. That is where my heart and sexual attraction is. And when I usually I don't wear leather a lot, one, because it's very hot in Palm Springs. But when I wear leather, I feel very sexual when I do wear my leather. The kink, no, I would not say that I am a kinkster. Am I kinky? Yeah. There are things I like that most people would be quite surprised. But I've never been into the BDSM because I've never. That was something that I have played with, but it's not a draw.
Do you want to tell us about your kinks or no?
Oh, no, I love exhibitionism. I love outdoor play. I love groups. I enjoy the nipple play, and I enjoy ass play. I'm not a fisting person, but I've fisted people.
You're accommodating.
If there's a BDSM accommodator, that would be me.
Okay.
I have enjoyed flogging. I have enjoyed receiving flogging on a nice flogger, a gentle flogger. I would not say I raise any marks or anything.
Well, I just want to point out how we're different here, because I think a lot of people listening may not get this until they hear this. Mm-hmm. But when, I talked about the two different communities, I was sort of in the BDSM community,
Right.
And I gravitated toward the leather community because that was where I could sort of identify potential partners.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
it's kind of the uniform, the traditional
Yes.
uniform.
Yes. Yes. A lot of leathermen, especially the new leather community, the new people you see coming into the leather community, just wear the leather just for the leather.
Mhm.
There's a lot of leather fashion out there, and there's a leather fetish, and then there's people who are kinky that happen to wear leather because that is the uniform, and there are people who are kinky that don't wear leather at all.
Of course, yeah, that's
And
right.
and so now, 20 years ago when I'd go to a leather bar, you would see leather. And now today, you see a lot of neoprene, you see a lot of
Right.
puppy masks, you see small amount of leather, but you see now it's more of where you identify with, and it's all under the leather umbrella. And I know in the leather community, a lot of leathermen kind of resist this coming together and diversity of leather, but you're going to have to accept it or it's going to die. You
Yeah.
know, if you don't open up the door and allow people to come in with their fetishes and their kinks and their interests and their curiosity, you're going to lose your whole community. And so, as a leather person, I was more of a traditionalist coming in. I couldn't say old guard because I came in so late, but I will say I was more of a traditionalist. And then as I sat and watched leather contests, because I've judged many, many leather contests, the whole leather identification has slowly morphed into so many other communities under the leather umbrella.
Mhm.
But I talk to people who really aren't into a lot of kink, but like to wear the leather. So yeah, there's a lot of people, like you said, there are two groups that the leather initially identified: ones
Yeah.
who like to wear leather, and the ones who are actually into BDSM.
Yeah, and I think some people would be surprised to see my closet because there's very little leather in it. It's just enough to signal,
Yes,
basically.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that clearly I didn't get as a young man before I turned 40. I had absolutely no gaydar. When I came out to my mom, we were sitting on the couch at 40, she proceeds to tell me all the gay men that I already know. And I'm fast. I go, what? I'm totally in shock. He's gay. He goes, yeah. What about this guy? He goes, honey, he's always hitting on your dad. Are you serious, Mom? And so I'm looking at these people who are, older than me. They're my mom's peers. And I had no idea because in my mind, I had this structured little, what a gay person is, that anything that fell outside of that little square wasn't gay. And now I'm a big collector of Billy dolls
Mm.
because, and I don't know if you're familiar with them,
Oh
they're
yeah.
kind of
Hmm.
the iconic gay imagery. And now I realize gay comes in so many forms. It just blows me away.
So where is leather going now? And especially during the pandemic, what is PSLOD doing to kind of keep the energy going and plan ahead?
That's a great question. So what happened was I was elected president of PSLOD this past January. Okay, so I took over, and
2020.
yes, 2020.
Mm.
And so I knew that we had to prepare for Leather Pride at the end of the year for 2020. Because we say Leather Pride 2020, it's actually in October, which is practically at the end of the 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And with the pandemic hitting, and I was kind of looking at the trends and looking at the way things were going, I'm realizing that there is no way we are going to be prepared to take on a large worldwide community coming into Palm Springs and keeping them safe. It was one of those things where I sat down with the club on Zoom because we hadn't had any, face-to-face meetings
Right.
since like almost like a month after.
Yeah.
I think we had 3 face-to-face meetings. That was about all I had. And I said, you know what? We need to make a decision, and it's not just affecting us as a club. This is going to affect people making decisions about how they're going to spend their money, how they're going to travel. And we're basically doing is we're inviting the world to Palm Springs,
Mhm.
and they're coming for a particular reason, and that's to have a good time.
And
And in leather,
it's become a huge event here.
it's a huge event, and I felt like it's not fair to keep people hanging on in hopes that we have our event, and at the same time providing, me feeling good about myself putting on a safe event where people's health is not at risk, and at the same time asking all our sponsors to participate as we're shutting down. We're shutting down all our bars, we're shutting down restaurants, bread and breakfasts, B&Bs, everything that you put together for a large scale event is being told to close. And I said, and then we put it to vote, and we all sat around on Zoom in a meeting and gave the pros and cons, and we took a vote and decided, what, it's just not worth it this year, and we'll have to, come back later and see how things are for 2021. And after that, we saw things shutting down all around us. That's when, it wasn't long after that the White Party shut down, and Coachella shut down, and the Country Western big event we have in Coachella shut down. So all these large scale events around the world and here in Palm Springs were shutting down. So we were kind of ahead of that curve. It wasn't one of these things where, we drug it out and kept people's hopes up. We let people down, I guess, early. And at the same time, hoping that we can regroup and maybe scale it back in our new design so that, because we won't have the same amount of money, because I really don't expect, the same amount of generosity we've had in the past. If businesses come back online, I'm sure there's going to be a period of time where they're going to rebuild,
Right.
And a lot of places won't be there that have been there in the past. So in the meantime, what I'm trying to do, in fact, we're having a club meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks, and just basically checking in on people. How are you doing? How are you faring alone? How is your mental health? Are you getting the things you need? A lot of our members have been in Palm Springs a while and are older and not as active, in the bar scenes or in the community. So we tend to have to look after each other and check in with each other.
You're also a member of another organization here in the desert. That's Brothers of the Desert.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's a brand new organization that pulled together about a year and a half ago. I was invited to have lunch over at one of the restaurants to meet these Black gentlemen who were coming together. A lot of them were from LA who had residences here, and a few were, who lived here as well. And this was my second participation in a Black gay organization here in the desert. The first time it didn't click as well, but this one is doing quite well. In fact, in the year and a half we've been together, we've already won one service award from the city.
What was that for?
We held a Black Summit, which was living your best Black gay life. And that was last February. And it was received by about 100 people. We had people as far as Texas and Atlanta show up. And basically we had lots of different workshops on how to live your best Black gay life. But we say Black gay life because it was attended by predominantly Black men. But what was interesting is that many my white friends felt like they weren't invited. And I thought, oh my God, somehow when you say Black in a title, other people feel like they're excluded. Even my own partner, who's white, asked me, can white guys come? I go, yeah. Well, because it says Black on the title. I said, the reason why it says Black is so that Black men know the focus is there. I said, when you don't put Black in a title, Black people don't realize they're the focus of this event. And he goes, oh, okay, then white guys can come. I said, sure. I said, sure. So it's an organization made up of Black gay men and their allies. And it's a phenomenal. I really enjoy it because part of my gay experience has been in Southern California and in the Bay Area, where I didn't meet a lot of Black gay men. And so this organization is kind of really cool because I get to talk about being Black and growing up closeted, I would say closeted, and gay. And it's amazing because so many Black men shared my experience and shared my stories, because you don't see us in the media. You don't see us in ad. You just don't, we're kind of a hidden group. And in the desert, where there's few Black people anyway, we're kind of spread out. And when we come together for meetings, there'll be 20 or 30 of us. And it's just like a big party, because we just don't see each other. So part of the organization's objective is to end isolation, and we're in the midst right now of planning an online summit, and we're also working on the 2021 February summit on living your best Black gay life. And it's one of the organizations I really enjoy, because it's so different than anything I've done since I've come out as a gay man.
I also read recently that you were recently sort of energized about working out again more and getting yourself fit. What's that about? Why all of a sudden?
Okay, well, you know what? Okay, so one of the great things about the gay community is that there is an emphasis on vitality and living your best life. I mean, dressing, grooming, fitness, everything. You got to give it your best. Where the emphasis is not there in the straight world. When I was living my straight life, there was no emphasis on all that. And while going through the coming out process, I spent 4 to 5 hours in the gym every day, because I was out of control in terms of, oh my God, my feelings. I'm falling in love with a man. I have this new career where I'm in charge of all these inmates in a firefighting setting. I have employees who I'm responsible for. I have inmates who I'm responsible. There were so many things that were new to me. My wife and I had a pending divorce. The only thing I can control was my diet and my exercise regime. And in a year and a half's time, when I was going through my coming out process, I had come out the other end in the best shape of my life. But it's amazing. It's an amazing exercise and dieting program when you're not doing it for the benefit of looking good. You're doing it for stress relief. And I loved the reception I received when I came out. And I'm going to bars. I'm going to going to all the circuit parties. I mean, wow, what a reception. Then I stopped working out because I said, wow, I'm in shape. I can quit my gym membership. And it took about 3 or 4 years, and everything started going back to normal. And I realized, okay, clearly I've gotten comfortable with being gay. I'm no longer having any anxiety. I have no misgivings. I am what I am. And I just was enjoying my little roly-poly life. Then I was asked if I would be interested in running for a leather title. And I said, well, in my mind, a leather man has a look. And I spent another year and a half getting in shape for Mr. Toolshed Leather Contest. And once again, I'm in the best shape of my life. And both of those times, I found that when I was focused on a goal or trying to deal with the stress in my life and things that I could not control, exercise was always the best remedy. So I'm now 62, Robert, and I'm thinking, well, Cliff, you want to do one more lap around the exercise arena, or do you want to go out fat and happy? And I said, you know what, I'm going to try it one more time. So I decided to come out to myself and make an effort for an all-out last lap and get in shape one more time and see if I can do it.
And how are you doing that now without the gyms open?
Well, you know what? My partner is in the midst of getting his personal training license. And I just got my massage license. And I kind of got inspired by watching him study and read. And he's picked up a few pieces of exercise equipment here at the house because where he wants to do personal training. And I guess I got inspired by him because, as you know, there are a lot of things you can do and for fitness and to get in shape that don't require a full gym. I mean, now a full gym makes it that much easier, especially if you want to put on a lot of muscle. But as far as cutting and getting your abs together and leaning out, there are a lot of things that he can show me and teach me just to get back in shape. And I know that I have the genetics. It's just a matter of having the discipline. So I need to once again demonstrate to myself some discipline. So I made that as a goal for 2021.
Well, I'm always impressed by anyone who can get on a stage in little more than a jock strap and, in front of a big crowd. And you did it for your contest for competing at IML.
Yes.
I did it once in a bar. There were only 3 contestants. It was South Florida Drummer Boy. And that was the last time I ever competed. I would never do it again. It was stressful.
Well, you know what? And that's, I tell guys who are entering contests, that whole jock strap portion of the contest, yes, it's for the audience because the audience gets to hoop and holler. But what it really is, it's a statement about yourself. It's saying, hi, here I am. This is who I am. How comfortable do I feel in my own skin? And there are guys who come out there who clearly aren't gym bunnies, but they're up there waving and laughing and smiling and having a great time. And that energy transcends to the audience. And they too see that and feel that. And there's that guy's biggest supporter. You're right. They love him. And I've seen guys get on stage who are like Adonises, just absolutely beautiful. And the stage swallows them up. It's like they're so insecure, even though they have a body of the gods, they just don't come off well. Well, and so that jockstrap portion is simply the portion of the contest that says, how comfortable are you in your own skin?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great explanation of it because I'm always impressed. And I guess I'm given some of the things that I've done lately with the camming and that kind of thing, I guess I'm somewhat comfortable in my skin, but I still wouldn't be able to get up on a stage in a jockstrap. So maybe I'll get there someday.
Yeah. Just it's kind of a self-acceptance portion of the contest, and that's what I tell guys who say, "Cliff, but I don't look like that guy. Oh my God, he looks so good," or "You look great on stage." I said, "Dude, this portion of the contest is about self-acceptance. How much do you like yourself?" Oh, I get it now. I said, "Yeah, it's not a bodybuilding competition. It's about how well do you like yourself."
Anything else you want to share with listeners?
No, the PSLOD, PSLOD.org is our website. Read up. If it looks interesting, there's an application you can fill out and join. Also, Brothers of the Desert and their allies, they have a page on Facebook called Brothers of the Desert, and that's another organization you can get involved in. Both organizations are great clubs to join if you're new to Palm Springs or the desert and you want to get involved and you want to meet a great group of people. I encourage people to check those 2 sites out.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure.
For information with links about a guest appearing on Sexual Heroes, visit the show notes at sexualheroes.com or on your favorite podcast app. And while you're there, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. You can follow and message me on Twitter @RobertBlackXXX and on Facebook @RealRobertBlack. Thanks for listening.